I'm always surprised when people simply contradict themselves each and every time. There was a question somewhere on the forums that asked, are there real vampires existent? And well, it's not quite the same topic as one would expect, but let's say that, people would ask curiously about things and then someone brings some points of view and then obviously others simply join in just to try to deny that. But at the same time, scientists make use of things like that. So you're saying vampires don't exist. Maybe they don't exist in that humanly sexy form that you find in movies or games because, sexualization sells. But the point is, vampires actually do exist. If we are to look at the multiple dimensions of not just this cosmos, but existence in general, see, there are multiple layers of life. This cosmos is part of some, but the point is very simple. Do you have parasites in the world? Yes, you do have. Humans have some parasites, and other species have their own parasites. Yes? Those parasites are technically vampires. Yes, they don't suck blood specifically, or some actually do, but in the end, you have vampires. Yes? A vampire, what is the definition of a vampire? Well, if you take it from one perspective, it's something that sucks blood. Yes? Now, blood is not just that red liquid with some defensive cells and some support cells within it. It's just not only that, it's more than that. It is technically part of your life flow. Yes? Because in the end, see, the definition of a complex or a machine or an environment is not just the entirety of the pieces, yes, but also the connection in between those, yes? Because in the end, your physical body is not just your organs, it is also your blood as well, because your blood is nothing else but a connection in between your organs. It is that which brings the flow to each and every one of your organs. It brings fresh air, it takes the used air, it brings food, it brings hydration, it does so much for your physical body. Yes? A mosquito, does it suck blood? Obviously. Is it called a vampire? Well, no, but technically it would be. So, a vampire also can be a psychological one. Yes, like narcissists, some sociopaths, or, well, they're usually not that drawn by attention, but they want attention on themselves, but some don't, and, well, it's a bit this and that. But there are a lot of people, in the end, if you draw the line, there are a lot of people who just thrive on being given attention. Yes, they thrive on farming it. Some thrive out of imagination. Yes, they see the views, they see the counts. Some people just buy, they purchase views and they get views from bot accounts and, they imagine that they get so much attention or they also base in the idea that they will get more attention just because their videos have their view count inflated. Yes, a lot of fakeness in all sorts of directions. But in the end, everyone has to wake up. Obviously, everyone has to go through madness to discover things. People are kind of too comfortable, but, well, everyone will face their own madness sooner or later because that's what life is. A reminder that if you want to go through the storm or to survive a storm, well, you have to go through it. Yes? And always face the storm because it is the easiest. You will never outrun the storm. If you try to do that, you'll spend even more time within the storm. Yes? And yeah, that is one point. So when we look at this topic of vampires, what I had some time ago as a flash from my intuition. See, even when you look at Western cultures, you see that there is this common creature called a vampire. Sometimes it looks humanoid, sometimes it's something completely different. Christianity in time adopted it and, well, somewhat associated it with demons or similar shady, ghastly characters. Now, see, the point is, as history has been mystified, my intuition told me that back in the times, the concept of vampires was not just created for funsies. Yes? You think the majority of people back in those times was illiterate. So drawing something wouldn't necessarily enlighten them. Yes? Now, what new history is starting to bloom with, obviously, evidence is that the ancestors of the Zionists first infiltrated Europe through Greece and obviously the Roman Empire. Yes? And then they gathered more and more power by simply infiltrating other governments within Europe as well. So the point is, these were seen by those times sages, yes, and they were also foreseen, yes. There have been many predictions about these people hundreds of thousands of years ago. Many people say our history is, a few hundred years, a few thousand years old. But see, consciousness functions in very repetitive ways. It functions in very fixed ways. Yes, there are a lot of variables, but they can be somewhat guessed if you have the knowledge of someone's level of awareness. Yes? And certain knowledge, let's say, about their own behavior. Occultism can help with that, and that's why Zionists are very busy with eating children. Yes, because children, like any other physical body, well, they mean information. Your physical body is information. It stores a multi-level, multi-layered database of information, not only about you, who you are as a piece of life within a physical body, but the karmic structure that you carry. Yes, that of your parents, and obviously your lineage of parents, and also of certain sufferings and certain patterns that happened in society. You can read a country's past, entire history, if you have a certain stability, obviously, by doing that. Yes, the easiest way, well, also the most mad of the ways, is to simply eat children or human flesh in general. Some just do it only because they need sustenance, because they got used to that. Yes, they need to feed themselves, but they're not interested. The Zionists are not interested in human flesh. They are interested in the pain within it. Yes, it cuddles their senses. That is why they butcher their victims. That is why they want their victims to suffer. That is why they have fear farms. Yes, you've been told about the adrenochrome, or I think it's called something like that. The fear hormone and whatever else. Children being kept in constant fear because children have very powerful emotions. Emotions are also some kind of information, not just pure energy. Energy, everything is energy. That's just a superficial way to look at it. What you're interested in is the nuances. Yes? So everything that feeds on something else technically is a vampire. In the end, in order to exist, we all are somewhat vampiric. Yes, because we all consume something. The nature of physicality and life is that you will always consume more than you can produce. It simply does not go the other way around. Yes? Only nature can create more than you can consume up to a certain level. Yes? If you use the resources unwisely, obviously you will end up in debt towards nature. Yes? A very old study told that this planet can house 108 billion people if we make use of its resources wisely. Yes, nowadays agendas that seek to make you feel bad about being human, because that's the only thing that Zionists know, being bad that they are in this physical body. Well, those new pseudo researches say that we're too many on the planet. Yes, obviously we're too many on the planet because their only purpose is to kill because they cannot live otherwise. Yes. Back in those times, sages and all knowledgeable people, gurus, whatever you want to call them, even in Christianity and maybe other religions as well, I'm not sure, but in Christianity, they knew about this plague. They knew about these, and the whole history of Europe is represented by anti-Jewish movements. Yes, here and there, when there were, I heard there were 20 big moments in history when Jewish people were sent out of big cities in Europe, in medieval Europe, obviously, in large numbers because of the troubles that they were causing. Obviously, not all the Jews, but some of them. And let's not forget, some of them would pose as Jews because they learned their culture, they adapted it, and they started acting as if they are Jews. Yes, they deleted themselves from history and then obviously started acting like Jews because this is a two-layer manipulation. First and foremost, you make people hate someone else, yes, and then you pump even more hate, yes, because first and foremost they hate those who do the thing, but you also mask yourself as something else. You disguise yourself as something else. Yes, this is the same mindset, the same level of awareness that a virus has. Yes, there is no difference in between the level of awareness of a narcissist and the level of awareness of a virus. They both function in the same way. They must infiltrate and destroy. Yes, while a virus doesn't necessarily seek to destroy. Yes, at times it may overact in a physical body, and that is why some diseases can occur. In the end, both want a home, but they don't have a sense of self, which is a bit weird for people because people think that a narcissist has a huge sense of self. No, they do not have a sense of self, as far as I have felt with my own, let's say, intuitive research. But the point is, they invent that great sense of self. Yes, they refine it, they make it seem as if it is real, but it's just an invention. Yes, these vampiric creatures do not have any awareness at all. Yes, they don't have any idea of the self. They don't identify as anything, but at the same time, they identify as everything because they don't have structure. Yes, a virus doesn't have much of a structure in the end. It is just so small, so tiny, just a molecule protected by a little bit of protective layer, and that's it. And then, it has enough knowledge to do whatever it does. Scientists, in a silly way, call it dead, but you're gonna become as dead as your considerations if you simply ignore that little creature. Yes, 1 million times smaller than a human cell, but still capable of causing so much damage. Yes. Similarly, narcissists are just like that. Their level of awareness is like almost 1 million times smaller than any other human creature. At the same time, it's almost like it never exists. Yes, they can be very aware of other people's thoughts because they are very analytical creatures. Yes, just like any predator, they study their prey. Everything is just knowledge acquisition for prey manipulation. Yes, there's nothing more, nothing less. That is the only thing that they do. And obviously, the question, are they vampiric? Of course, they are vampiric. So, what were these vampires that Christianity adopted? Well, these were representations of what some people call the archons. Yes, fourth dimensional parasites, which embody different life forms and pose as ultimate tests of their survival. Any race within consciousness that reaches the level of awareness enough so that these parasites can feel them, these parasites will enact, these parasites will corrupt those minds more or less, and they will infiltrate different bodies of theirs through the individuals that are most disturbed, most twisted. Because as I said, the quality of body of a woman decides the quality of life that she will invite when she gives birth to a child. Yes, if a woman is trash, well, she will give birth to a child. If a woman is an angel, she will give birth to a child. Yes, both give birth to a child. But the possibility of life, yes, the piece of life that can join each one's body is limited by their own prowess, by their own spirituality, by their own purity of their own body. Yes. Why does this sick society promote sex? Because it is the easiest level to try to comprehend life. Yes, everything is about gooning. You're just giving up your energy for free, and they have free meals. Yes, they don't even need to fight you. And then secondarily, the more trashy women become by, having sex with multiple men, then comes a bigger problem. Yes, their quality dwindles, and they will give birth to simpletons instead of children who can become wise. Yes, nowadays, even when I look in society, so many children look like they don't know what they're doing on this planet. They don't even know how to use the physical body that they have. Yes, this is how they procreate. This is how they act because they want life forms that are lower than them so that they can consume. Because in the end, you don't need to call them elites. The Zionists are not humans, okay? They are pieces of life that are vampiric by nature. That is why in even in Christianity they were portrayed as vampires. Yes, since people were illiterate, it would take a long time for them to simply be taught what a vampire is. So the fear was promoted. Yes, fear is a powerful weapon, and it can be used to arm people with it. If you learn to fear a certain enemy, you will try to do certain things to counter that so-called enemy. Yes, if you fear a certain situation, your mind will automatically seek solutions out of it. Yes. So in time, obviously, these got mystified because the Zionists would do everything possible to mystify the idea of them being parasitic. Yes. Their only purpose, what they also presented through communism, is the new man. Yes, the new human. The one that doesn't fight, doesn't do anything, just gives up instantly, and, well, it's easy livestock. Yes, because in the end, that's what you are. A battery that is used for their infernal prison system that they have, where you are bound by everything and everything is against you, as well as livestock for whoever ends up on their plates. Yes, they say they like human flesh only because of the pain that they can carry. Because let's not forget, they are um within human bodies as well. But they have to traumatize those physical bodies so that those physical bodies become compatible with the amount of madness and pain that they feel. Yes? In the madness that they feel, in the awareness, in the ultimate layers of narcissism that they feel, yes, there is no consciousness left in there. Not that there was in the first place. A parasite doesn't have any consciousness. It only has survival. It is not even a drone because it does not function for a society like, for example, drones do in a ant colony or in a bee colony. Yes, they just are slaves of survival, and these fourth dimensional parasites are also the same. Yes, so maybe everything in history wasn't as simplistic as they have been mystified to appear to be. Yes, what I'm saying is a possibility, not necessarily something truly true. Each level of awareness has a certain wisdom that will be granted to you. Yes, after which it might not no longer be as useful. But this is an intuitive thought that I received. So hopefully this video raised a bit of awareness. You are appreciated. Take care. Enjoy life. This being said, Ferenc Board signing out.